Did Jin's solo tour teaser accidentally reveal Jungkook's next era? The background mystery that has ARMY questioning everything. What if a 35-second teaser was never really about Jin alone? What if the darkness, the trembling vocal texture, and a single lyric about a starless night were quietly pointing to someone else? Someone ARMY has been waiting for. When BTS's Jin released the teaser for the VOD encore of his solo world tour jeon tour, fans expected celebration, nostalgia, and pride. Instead, something far more unsettling and thrilling happened. Jungkook's name began trending. Why would a Jin solo teaser suddenly feel so Jungkook-coded? And why are fans convinced that the song titled Background is not just background at all, but a carefully planted emotional signal for what comes next in the BTS universe? From the very first second the teaser dropped via BTS's official account on X, the atmosphere felt different. Jin appeared on stage dressed in black, not the bright, reassuring image many associate with his solo journey, but something darker, heavier, almost cinematic. Blue lights cut through the arena, his shadow multiplied behind him, and the crowd's ARMY bombs shimmered like a galaxy that somehow failed to light the night fully. Then came the line that 스타프트 팬즈 콜드, 별 하나 없는 이 까만 밤. A black night without a single star. Why did that line feel so familiar? Why did it echo themes long associated with Jungkook's most introspective work? As the teaser looped endlessly across timelines, ARMY began asking questions that refused to stay quiet. Why did Jin choose this song, with this tone, for the climax of his first solo world tour? Why did the vocal color in Background feel closer to Jungkook's raw, emotional lower register than to Jin's usual soaring clarity? And why, at this exact moment, just weeks before BTS's highly anticipated group comeback era, did everything suddenly feel like a bridge rather than a finale? In newsrooms and fan spaces alike, one narrative began to take shape. Officially, the teaser announced the video-on-demand encore of jeon tour, available exclusively on Weverse, with pre-orders open until January 30th, 2026, and a premiere scheduled for January 30th at noon Korea Standard Time. It marked the grand finale of Jin's historic first solo tour, a milestone following his military discharge, and a powerful statement of his artistic growth. Yet emotionally, culturally, and symbolically, the teaser seemed to be doing something else entirely. It felt like a whisper about Jungkook, the magne of BTS, the member many believe will stand at the musical center of the group's next chapter. The reaction was immediate and intense. Within hours, the teaser surpassed hundreds of thousands of views, with fans replaying it frame by frame, dissecting every note, every lighting cue, every shadow. Some ARMY commented simply, "Background," as if naming the song was already enough to convey the weight they felt. Others went further, asking why the song's mood mirrored Jungkook's solo themes of isolation, pressure, and inner conflict. Was it coincidence, or was Jin deliberately choosing a song that would resonate with Jungkook's emotional landscape? To understand why this speculation exploded so quickly, one must look at Jungkook's artistic history. From Begin to My Time, from the raw vulnerability of his solo work to the confessional tone of his recent projects, Jungkook has often embodied the narrative of someone growing up in the spotlight, grappling with loneliness even while surrounded by millions. The lyric about a starless night felt like it could have been pulled straight from Jungkook's diary. Fans pointed out that even the arrangement, dark, band-driven, emotionally restrained, aligned with the musical direction Jungkook has been subtly carving out. Yet this was Jin's tour, Jin's stage, Jin's moment. Or was it also Jin's message? As the eldest member of BTS, Jin has long been seen as a stabilizing force, someone deeply aware of the group's internal dynamics and emotional currents. His decision to end his first solo world tour with a song like Background struck many as intentional rather than accidental. In fan discussions, a theory emerged that Jin was not stepping into Jungkook's spotlight, but rather illuminating it. By choosing a song that felt Jungkook-coded, Jin may have been creating an emotional handoff, a subtle narrative bridge leading ARMY toward the next era. This idea gained traction when fans remembered Jin's history of symbolic gestures. From The Astronaut, A song filled with cosmic imagery and farewell undertones. To his careful timing of releases and messages, Jeon has often communicated indirectly, trusting ARMY to read between the lines. Could Background be another such message? A way of saying that even as Jeon takes a step back after his solo milestone, someone else is preparing to step forward. The timing only fueled the speculation further. BTS's fifth full-length album, Arirang, is scheduled for release on March 20th, 2026, marking a full group return that fans have been counting down to since enlistment began. Industry insiders have hinted that this comeback will feature a strong musical center, potentially led by Jungkook. Against that backdrop, Jen's teaser felt less like an ending and more like a prologue. Visually, the teaser seemed to support this reading. The repeated imagery of Jin's shadow, multiplied and layered, suggested presence and absence at the same time. The blue lighting, often associated with melancholy and introspection, contrasted sharply with the celebratory nature one might expect from a tour encore announcement. Even the confetti at the end felt bittersweet, as if marking not just a victory, but a transition. Fans from around the world added their own perspectives. ARMY in Mexico, still vocal about past ticketing issues, flooded the replies alongside fans translating lyrics and sharing emotional reactions. Indonesian ARMY, in particular, noted how the teaser's mood resonated deeply, describing it as quietly devastating rather than triumphant. Across languages and regions, one question kept resurfacing. Why does this feel like Jungkook's story hiding inside Jin's moment? Media outlets quickly picked up on the anomaly. Headlines began to note how attention had unexpectedly shifted from Jeon to Jungkook, how a solo tour teaser had sparked group comeback theories, and how Background had become the most discussed element of the release. Analysts pointed out that this kind of organic speculation is something BTS has historically embraced, often using subtle storytelling rather than explicit announcements to guide fan expectations. From a strategic perspective, the move made sense. By allowing Jungkook's name to surface naturally in response to Jin's teaser, the group maintained focus on Jin's achievement while simultaneously reigniting anticipation for the Magne's next steps. It was marketing without marketing, narrative without confirmation. In the BTS universe, such ambiguity is rarely accidental. Emotionally, the effect was profound. Many fans described feeling a sudden wave of longing, not just for Jungkook, but for BTS as a whole. The teaser reminded them of the group's interconnectedness, how one member's journey often reflects and supports another's. Jeon singing about a starless night felt like a reminder that even the brightest constellations experience darkness, and that light often returns through collective strength. As pre-orders for the VOD Encore continue and the premiere date approaches, anticipation is building not just for Jin's performance, but for what viewers might discover between the lines. Will the full performance of Background reveal more clues? Will Jeon speak about his song choices? Or will the meaning remain unspoken, preserved in the shared intuition between BTS and ARMY? For now, what remains undeniable is the impact. A teaser meant to celebrate Jin's solo tour finale has instead opened a new chapter of speculation, emotion, and expectation. Jungkook's presence, whether intentional or interpretive, looms large over the conversation, reminding fans that in BTS's storytelling, nothing exists in isolation. Every background can become a foreground. Every ending can be a beginning. The question lingers, unresolved and electric. Was Background merely a song, or was it a signal? As ARMY waits for January 30th, for March 20th, and for whatever comes after, one thing is clear. In the world of BTS, even the quietest moments can echo loudly. And sometimes, the most powerful messages are hidden where no one expects to look, right there in the background. And as the conversation refused to die down, another layer of curiosity began to surface, one that pushed ARMY to look beyond vocals and lyrics, straight into the psychology of BTS's storytelling. Why would Jeon, an artist who has finally reached the peak of his solo journey, choose a song titled Background for such a monumental encore moment? Why frame his triumph not with fireworks and brightness, but with restraint, darkness, and emotional weight? For many fans, the answer felt uncomfortably clear. This was not about centering himself, but about positioning someone else. In broadcast-style discussions and fan-driven analyses, commentators began to describe the teaser not as a celebration, but as a quiet editorial statement. Jeon, standing alone on a vast stage, surrounded by light sticks yet singing about emptiness, appeared almost symbolic of transition. It was as if he were saying, without words, that his role was shifting from the one in front to the one supporting the larger picture. In BTS's internal mythology, that role has often belonged to the eldest member, the one who sets the emotional tone before stepping aside. This is where Jungkook's shadow seemed to grow even larger. ARMY began connecting dots that felt impossible to ignore. The emotional palette of background, the subdued band arrangement, the pacing of Jin's delivery, all echoed Jungkook's recent artistic language. Fans recalled how Jungkook's solo performances have often leaned into darkness rather than spectacle, choosing vulnerability over bravado. The teaser's mood felt less like Jin's past solo releases and more like a doorway into Jungkook's inner world. Speculation intensified when fans revisited Jungkook's past interviews, where he spoke about feeling like he was always behind expectations, chasing an ever-moving standard. The word background suddenly took on new meaning. Was this song reflecting the emotional state of the magne who grew up under the world's gaze? Was Jeon, consciously or subconsciously, giving voice to something Jungkook has carried quietly for years? As this theory spread, the teaser transformed into something larger than a promotional clip. It became a talking point about BTS's future structure. Industry watchers noted that in previous eras, BTS often used one member's project to foreshadow another's direction. The transitions were rarely announced outright. Instead, they were felt. Jin's solo tour closing with a song that fans immediately associated with Jungkook fit that pattern almost too perfectly. Adding fuel to the fire was the broader context of BTS's upcoming album Mirroring. Marketed as a return not just to group activity, but to cultural roots and emotional identity, the album is expected to balance nostalgia with maturity. Many analysts believe Jungkook will act as the sonic anchor of this era, given his vocal versatility and global appeal. Against that backdrop, Jin's teaser felt less isolated and more like a deliberate narrative placement. One piece in a much larger puzzle. Even the choice of platform mattered. Releasing the teaser through official BTS channels rather than framing it strictly as a Jeon solo update blurred the lines intentionally. It invited group-level interpretation. Fans noticed how the caption emphasized the grand finale, while the visuals suggested continuity rather than closure. A finale to one story, perhaps, but not to the universe. Emotionally, ARMY's reaction evolved from excitement into something deeper. Many fans described feeling a sudden ache, a sense of being pulled back into the collective longing that defined BTS's hiatus years. The teaser reopened memories of waiting, of reading signs, of trusting that BTS communicates most honestly when they say the least. Jin's voice, steady yet heavy, felt like reassurance wrapped in melancholy. Some fans went even further, suggesting that Jeon chose background as a way to protect Jungkook. Instead of pushing him into the spotlight too abruptly, Jeon may have been easing the transition, allowing ARMY to emotionally reconnect with Jungkook's themes before his official return to center stage. If true, it would align perfectly with Jin's long-standing reputation as a quietly thoughtful leader figure within the group. Meanwhile, mainstream media continued to highlight the anomaly. Headlines questioned why Jungkook's name dominated conversations about Jin's tour. Commentators pointed out how rare it is for a solo project to redirect attention so organically, without controversy or scandal, purely through emotional resonance. That alone spoke to BTS's unique cultural gravity. As January 30th approaches, and fans prepare to watch the full VOD encore on Weverse, expectations are no longer limited to stage performance quality. Viewers are now watching for subtext. They are listening for tone, for pauses, for anything that might confirm or complicate the theories surrounding background. Will Jeon address the song? Will he leave it unexplained, trusting ARMY to feel rather than know? And beyond that looms the bigger question: what happens next? If this teaser truly is a bridge, where does it lead? to Jungkook stepping forward as the emotional and musical core of BTS's next era, to a comeback that leans darker, more introspective, more honest than anything before? Or is this simply the calm before an unexpected storm? What cannot be denied is that Jin's teaser has succeeded in doing something extraordinary. It has reignited collective imagination. It has turned a solo encore announcement into a conversation about legacy, transition, and trust. It has reminded the world that in BTS, nothing exists in isolation. Not a lyric, not a visual, not even a song titled Background. As ARMY waits, analyzes, and feels, one final question hangs in the air, refusing to be answered just yet. Was Jin standing alone on that stage, or was he quietly making space for Jungkook to step into the light?